Okay, it is time to start. This is our bi-monthly webinar for the acute pancreatitis patient registry to examine novel therapies in clinical experience study, the APPRENTICE study. This is George Papachristou. I have Phil Greer, our data manager, Amir Gougol next to us, Stephen and Pedram, the rest of the group, and we're going to move into the agenda. So we're going to talk about, we're going to update you on overall enrollment, report on data quality. We're going to review briefly the profile survey that we completed, the process of proposal grading that is also completed. We're going to present the best proposals that are first priority. We're going to talk about the next phase of Apprentice and the goals. We're going to talk about CAPER and the importance of joining, of all of us joining CAPER, and then the panel will be open for discussion. So starting with overall enrollment, first of all, I would like to thank you all that you're on right now and attending. Dr. Gutierrez from Argentina, Dr. Nawas from East Meni, Livia, and
Dr. Zarnescu from Romania.
But Dr. Zarnescu from Romania, Dr. Barbo from Romania, Dr. Takar from AGA, Gula from Lithuania, Dr. Singh from Hopkins, Livia from Italy, and is it also from Rome? Is there anyone else, or that's it?
Dr. Capurso, yeah, Dr. Capurso.
And Dr. Capurso from Rome. So a lot of attendees, and we hope as we move forward, more people will be able to join us. There might be even more people that join through their cell phone and we cannot actually track their names down. So moving to the overall enrollment, I think we have been doing very well. We have approximately 1,350 subjects entered into REDCap that meet inclusion criteria. And as you can see, 1/3 of those come from the United States and 2/3 are from international centers, which is excellent. In the US, the top recruiting centers are Hopkins, Cleveland Clinic, and UPMC. All of them have 70 or more subjects enrolled. And the top recruiting international centers, the first three come from India. It is the Postgraduate Institute of Medical Education and Research in Chandigarh, the Apollo Hospital in Kolkata, and the Asian Institute of Gastroenterology in Hyderabad, with 186 enrollees, as well as the Lithuanian University with 86, and the University Hospital in Monterrey, Mexico with 82. At this point, I will have Phil Greer, our data management, talk a little bit more about enrollment data and how do we actually monitor the data that are enrolled. Phil?
Actually, the first thing we're going to talk about is to recognize the centers that have probably the most complete data for the data that they've entered into REDCap already. And for this, we're referring to completeness as a minimization of missing data. It may not necessarily be 100% perfectly accurate. There could be some issues that we will address soon when we get to the data monitoring. But overall, the completeness is for all of these centers is at least 95% complete. That meaning that there's very, very minimal missingness in the data set. A lot of the missingness is going to be on things like mostly it's newer entries have missing data in there because the people perhaps have not been discharged out of the hospital yet, or some of the missingness can be from transfer patients that is missing some of the lab data at admission. But these centers, these next centers, all have very, very good completeness. For the U.S., the top centers for completeness are Johns Hopkins, Eastern Maine, and Indiana. For the international centers, the top completeness are actually the top three recruiting centers in India have the highest completeness as well. So Postgraduate Institute in Chandigarh, Apollo Gleneagles in Kolkata, and the Asian Institute in Hyderabad. I mentioned about data monitoring. We're going to be doing a lot more data monitoring and sending out emails over the next 2 weeks. The focus of this data monitoring is more or less what we've been doing for the past. You've been getting these emails, and we'll be trying to point out as much missing data for all the subjects actually meeting inclusion criteria. So we'll be doing that, and then working on the next set of information in the data, which is problematic data. The biggest problematic thing that we've been finding so far is that people are having problems with units on their data. So one of the important things for calculating BMI is that the height and weight is in the correct units. So pay attention to whether the data that you're putting in is in units, and then, so that weight is in kilograms, height is in centimeters, and the fluids, the IV fluids that you're putting in are all in milliliters and not in liters. And the next part of the problematic data is possible transposed data, so that you're putting the weight in the height field and the height in the weight field, or perhaps some of the other areas where it's just free text. The final thing that we're going to be working on the whole data monitoring for this is that we're going to try to pay attention to a lot more of the follow-up data. We haven't really been looking at that much of the follow-up data in the previous data monitoring emails that we've sent out. We've only been checking to see if the follow-up data has at least been partially entered. Now we're going to actually try to focus a bit more on making sure that the follow-up data is actually good and complete.
Phil, thank you so much for being here and giving us an update. And I would like to let everyone know that this is a lot of work that Phil, who is heading the monitoring group, and the whole group is placing. So it's extremely important, as we are so close and all of you have done a phenomenal job up to now, to very carefully review the emails that are going to come out from the monitoring group and try to address each point that will be made for your center, so as at this point to maximize the completeness of the data, so as to be able to have the best possible data for statistical analysis. I would like also to inform you that the site survey that we sent out in March is finally completed by all centers, and this is very encouraging and important. We thank you all for that. The survey is a very important element of our study because it will be used in many different occasions. It will help to describe the type, size of the institutions involved, the access that each institution has to advanced procedures, as well as to estimate the percentage of admitted patients who were enrolled in Apprentice. Because, as you understand, we are a case control study. Not all patients admitted to each participating center were enrolled into Apprentice, and there is a big variations depending on the ability of the center to capture and enroll patients at all times. So these will be important questions that are going to come up when we start writing our papers from the reviewers reviewing our papers, and it would be very helpful to have this information. The survey data by its own can also end up being a separate paper, and I know that Jeff Isler, that has helped in creating this survey, is potentially interested in working on that. Now we're going to move into one of the major topics of our webinar today, which is the research proposals. We have received, the publication committee has received up to now 29 proposals, which is a very encouraging number. The proposals have already been graded based on their clinical significance, novelty, as well as availability of data in apprentice dataset to actually address the research question. For the grading of the proposals, I initially developed a working group of 4 young investigators from the US, Drs. Peter Lee, Hak Nawas, Venkata Akshintala, and Amir Gougol, who actually reviewed independently all proposals. They comment and grade them. And during DDW 2017 in Chicago, in the beginning of May, we actually met, we sat down for several hours, and we reviewed the proposal one by one, and an average score was granted for each project. Subsequently, the grading of the proposals was sent back to the publication committee, and we got feedback by most of the members of the committee, by Drs. Gutierrez, Silvia Gutierrez, Vic Singh, and Enrique Di Maria. And based on their feedback, the scores were kind of finalized, and these are the proposals that I will be presenting to you today. The grading scale ranges from 1, which is the lowest, to 5, which is the highest score. Grades of 4.5 or 5 deemed as highest priority for statistical analysis, and these will be the research proposals that we're going to start analyze first. Also, proposals with grades either of between 3 and 4 will be also of high priority for analysis. However, proposals with lower grades between 1 and 2 definitely require more work and major modifications before considered for analysis. And half of the proposals that we received fit into this category. Recommendations will be, for improving these proposals, will be sent back to the investigators. The proposals were mainly, the majority of the proposals were sent by US centers. So I want everyone to understand that there is still time for additional proposals, and we'll be happy to review them. But I would say now that looking ahead, this will be done within the next 1 or 2 months. Otherwise, I'm concerned that good proposals might not be prioritized as highly as they should. So I'm going to present 14 proposals, those that they have scores from 3 and up. And I will be starting with the highest graded research proposals, those with scores between 4 and 5. The first one is entitled Factors Determining the Timing and Sequence of Organ Failure in Patients with Acute Pancreatitis. A very important subject, the timing and which organs fail first. The second proposal is focusing on the predictors of oral feeding intolerance in acute pancreatitis. This is a very important topic, and specifically we have several questions on that included in apprentice questionnaires, so as to be able to answer this question. The third highest graded proposal is entitled Disease Profiles in Acute Pancreatitis, Application of a Novel Clinical Activity Scoring System. This novel clinical activity scoring system is called the PASS system, PASS, and there was just a publication out in the Red Journal for you that you want to learn more about this activity scoring system. The fourth proposal is entitled Geographic Variations in the Demographics, Clinical Profile and Outcomes Among Patients from 4 Continents. This is also a very important topic. Number 5 is planning a multi-center randomized controlled trial on early fluid resuscitation in acute pancreatitis. Number 6, outcomes in acute pancreatitis after fluid resuscitation using different solutions. And I think these are the 6 proposals that scored 4 or higher. And then moving to those with scores of 3 and 3.5, hypertriglyceridemia-induced acute pancreatitis, prevalence, disease course, and treatment options. A paper focusing on hypertriglyceridemic pancreatitis, which is a very hot topic. Statins and NSAIDs influence in the severity of acute pancreatitis. That was the one proposal, but there was a second similar proposal entitled Statin Use and Acute Pancreatitis Outcomes, and we'll try to merge those 2 proposals. The next one is, does type and volume of IV fluid hydration impact severity in posterior severe pancreatitis? So this is a proposal focusing on another subset of acute pancreatitis, posterior severe pancreatitis. A very important topic as well. Number 10, a predictive scoring systems for acute pancreatitis using classification and regression tree CART analysis. So this is a sophisticated analysis in trying to develop a predictive scoring system. Number 11, BUN and hematocrit as single marker prognosticators for acute pancreatitis in patients with chronic kidney disease. So a subset of patients that have chronic kidney disease does actually BUN and hematocrit help in prognosticate the disease course. Number 12, 3-month follow-up after sentinel acute pancreatitis. This is the only proposal that was sent that is utilizing the 3-month follow-up data. I will urge you to consider additional proposals because this is a very important and unique information that we have in our data set. Number 13, the clinical impact of pre-existing disease on incidence and severity of acute pancreatitis compared to those without pre-existing disease. And number 14, evaluation of mortality in patients with interstitial acute pancreatitis. So do patients with interstitial acute pancreatitis die or not? So these are the 14 out of 29 proposals. Actually, they are 15 because number 8 is 2 proposals. 15 out of 29 that were graded with the highest scores, and these will be the priority proposals for statistical analysis. What is next? Where are we going from here? As Phil mentioned, we will have to go on another round of monitoring emails, which is the most important of all. And you're going to be receiving monitoring emails within the next 2 weeks. Subjects with major missing data after the completion of the monitoring, which will be another 1 month. Subjects so with major missing data or missing data more than 25% of all data requested will be likely removed from the data set and they won't be used in the analysis. So it's very important, since we have done a lot of work already to try to optimize the data enrollment. We plan to start our statistical analysis on July 1st. All analysis will be done centrally at the University of Pittsburgh, and I'm very excited to present to you Southern Gao. He goes by Stephen. He is originally from Shenyang, China. He did his undergraduate studies in biology at the Dalian Medical University, and currently he is a PhD student in biostatistics at the University of Pittsburgh. And he's going to be working mainly on the statistical analysis under the supervision of Dr. Gong Tang, who is an associate professor in the Department of Biostatistics. Amir, if you want to have Stephen just say hi to all of us. Stephen is here with us today. So he just started a couple of days ago. So we're very excited to have him, and he's now working on getting more familiar with the questionnaires and the data. The second step will be to comb the data and prepare them for data analysis. And then Stephen will start working on the statistical analysis on the projects, on the proposals that were already presented one by one. So we're very excited that we have Stephen in our team. So investigators that have submitted proposals that were graded as high priority will then be contacted at the time of analysis. And as I mentioned, the projects will be analyzed in order of the score that they received. Now, investigators of the remaining projects, that their projects were not graded as high priority at this point, will also receive an email with comments on their proposals, and they will have to do some additional work to improve in the way the proposals and sometimes even fit them to the data that we have available in Apprentice. How about moving forward? We are looking forward into initiating Apprentice Phase 2. Before I go to that, we will be, in a way, locking the data in late June. So this month is very important for you guys to enter data in additional patients that you have enrolled, focus on the emails that we'll be receiving on the working group, and work on optimizing and completing your data. And don't forget the 3-month follow-up data that are important. We understand that for the 3-month follow-up data, you will need, for patients that were entered recently, additional time. So actually the original data will be locked on at the end of the month. However, the follow-up data will give it a couple of additional months, will give you time to complete those as well. Now, moving on into Apprentice Phase 2, I hope that we'll be able to start Phase 2 somewhere in early autumn 2017. The goals with Phase 2 is to continue enrollment. However, we will have the opportunity to revise many questions to REDCap, mainly to make even enter data to REDCap more user-friendly, as well more friendly for statistical analysis. But also we will consider even adding important questions. So we're looking forward to hear from you down the road for important project-oriented questions that you want to be added to Phase 2. And of course, I would advise you to avoid lengthy questions. We have to, in a way, balance between efficiency and gathering as much information as possible, but also time. In addition to the above, we plan to add a 12-month follow-up questionnaire. So those patients that they are already enrolled in Phase 1, it would be great if you can recontact them, or when you see them in clinic, you actually add data for their 12-month follow-up. The 12-month follow-up questionnaire will be very similar to almost identical to the 3-month follow-up questionnaire. And of course, a very important task of Apprentice Phase 2 is to start collecting samples. For those patients that will enroll in Phase 2, try also to collect samples. This can be blood for DNA and cytokines. This can be also urine under a detailed universal protocol of sample collections in those centers that have the infrastructure to do so. And I understand that some of the centers or many of the centers might not be able to do that, but we still want you guys to continue enrolling in Apprentice Phase 2. It would be great if down the road we can expand Apprentice from a pure clinical into a clinical and translational data study. Of course, we have to continue thinking of applying for funding and consider also designing randomized controlled clinical trials down the road. Remember, one of the major tasks of Apprentice is to be used in the future as a platform for randomized controlled trials. A very important point that Phil made is based on the research proposals, or if you have a research proposal that it's a strong one, but we're missing some specific data to address this question, we can always add this question in Apprentice Phase 2. In respect to grant proposal, This is a major, an issue of major importance for apprentice to be able to be maintained and be successful in the future. I was very lucky to receive an internal grant from the University of Pittsburgh Physicians that support Stephen's effort for the next year. I feel that internal small grants can be extremely helpful in individual participating centers to support sample collection. So explore, this is the time to explore in your institutions, your own institutions, if there are small grants that you can utilize that will help you support sample collection. And of course, we need more ideas and more manpower for writing grants for funding, and this can go through NIH, which is the National Institute of Health, industry, or other GI organization in the US or international ones. So what are the things to do for the summer? As already mentioned, this is the most important task. Take extra effort to maximize the completeness and quality of the data within the next 1 month. Consider working on infrastructure so as to start collecting, prepare your group on starting collecting samples for apprentice phase 2 if possible. Share with us your comments and any issues that you might have with how REDCap is set right now, and also provide additional questions that you feel that we should include in Apprentice 2. And a very important topic that I would like your support is joining CAPER and becoming a member of CAPER. CAPER is a very important organization. It was originally funded 8 or 9 years ago. The acronym stands for Collaborative Alliance for Pancreatic Education and Research. Actually, since last summer, I'm the president of CAPER, and CAPER has been crucial in supporting Apprentice. During CAPER meetings, that's when we sat down and we decided to start with Apprentice. And we have been using CAPER's website to advertise our study. Also, in the near future, I hope that CAPER will be able to provide us with a webinar link, so as Amir won't have to go through enrolling and every time that we have to do a new webinar. And the annual membership is actually very, very reasonable. It's $100 for physicians that have already completed their training, and only $25 for trainees or research coordinators. So please go to the CAPER website. It's called caperpancreas.org, and try to enroll and become a member. This is very important for this very important alliance, focusing on education and research, and really focusing on younger investigators and collaborative studies such as Apprentice, and another study that also started through CAPER in the pediatric GI ward, the INSPIRE study. So please, I think the membership is very important and the fees are very reasonable. CAPER right now has a limited number of members. We really need to grow as an organization, and I think CAPER, through CAPER, studies like Apprentice will have a huge opportunity to grow. I think with the last slide I completed what I really have to we really have to say here. Again, we're a large group of people today. All of us have been working in Apprentice. We already talked about Phil Greer, who is our data manager. Come closer. Amir, who even though he's doing his residency, he continues to be heavily involved. A new member of the group is Pedram Paragomi. Pedram, say hi. Pedram is one of our new research scholars that he started 3-4 months ago, and he's doing an exceptional job. He's an MD from Iran. And of course, as we already talked about, Stephen Gao, who's going to be working on the statistical analysis. At this point, I will have Amir organizing the open discussion.
So everyone, if you guys have any question, please feel free to click on the yellow button, like a yellow hand sign, and then or you can just write for me. I can just unmute you.
Muted.
Hello? Hello, Dr. Papa Christo, can you hear me?
Unmuted.
Yes, we can hear you. Hi, Nafi.
Hi. Hi, I'm here. Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for all your work. Exceptional work, exquisite. I have a short question. What's going to be happening between July and October with the Red Cup? Is going to be closed?
It should be open for the follow-up data. I think we're going to lock the forms for well, we would like you to not enroll any new people starting July 1. No more new enrollees. I can't really lock the forms because we may need you to go in and edit some of the data that's already there that is missing, or we would like you to change it, to change units or to double check things. The main focus after July 1 is fixing any of the missing data or any of the odd data and adding all of the follow-up data for all patients that we actually already have in REDCap. Once the last of the follow-up data, I think, should be done, we should be able to lock all of the data, or once we get the go-ahead that all the data is as good as possible and as complete as possible, we will lock each one of the different data access group, all of the people, so that it can actually really be edited at that point in time.
I see.
And then,
because I think shutting down the whole system would be very risky to reopen. I mean, talking with the colleagues in the system, if I'm going to be saying, okay, stop enrolling, then it would be very, very difficult to start re-enroll again.
What I would suggest, Narcis, is you can continue enrolling. Maybe for July and August, you can not enter the data. And once we have the updated REDCap, because remember, for phase 2, we're going to add the 12-month follow-up, and we will also try to change some of the questions to make them more user-friendly or better suited for statistical analysis, or we might add some additional questions. Then by September 1st, or whenever the starting date is, then you can go on and enter even those patients that you enrolled maybe in July and August without entering the data to REDCap. So it's going to be a very, in a way, short 2 or 3 month gap on entering the data. It's not ideal, but this is how things need to be done so as to update the REDCap for the next phase.
I see. Thank you.
So Livia has like 2 questions. I'm gonna read it.
Livia is from Rome, Italy, correct?
From Italy, yeah. Said that I have a suggestion for phase 2. We might give the possibility to insert data all together, meaning when in the admission form or 24 or 48 or 72 ask for blood tests, it would be useful to have the possibility to insert the lab tests all together, because I find them all together in the same page. of the clinical chart. In fact, one of the things that might make the data insertion slow to me is to go back and forth between different page of clinical charts. So like lab tests and radiology pages and IV fluid administration, which are all kept in different parts of the clinical chart. What do you think?
That's going to be hard because all the medical records are going to be tailored in different ways, so that the lab results for one medical record might actually be on multiple pages. I mean, we can try to work on it to minimize the amount of page swapping, but we need to sit down and look at the actual your use case, so that we need to work on it for more people than just a single medical record.
So, and I'm gonna just add that one of the things that we did not do, like the separated pages based on the lab or radiology, is the importance of the entering data prospectively. So ideally we want, and we do like in University of Pittsburgh, like every day, like sit down for like few minutes, enter the data, and the next day do it at the same day. So if we put all the radiology in the one page and lab test in another page, it means that patient needs to be discharged and then go back and do all of them. And one of the strength of this study is going to be like the prospective nature of this study. That was, I think, the main reason that Dr. Papakris and I like decided not to stratify and categorize the questionnaire based on the labs or radiology as it is in the like a EMR. You're right. So there is some more questions. I think there's a question with Dr. Wiki Shing. Dr. Shing, if you want, you can talk. I think it's like a bit more interesting to have like information, but I think his audio is not connected. So up to the time that audio is not connected, I can read it.
Mhm.
Dr. Shing, is the distribution of etiologies similar to other studies? Before we had a tilt toward post-ERC pancreatitis, very important to enroll consecutive patients. So it is not exactly similar to other studies. I can just open the REDCap right now and just give you.
What we can say is, from the original paper that we did, it appears that the US centers have more post-RCP pancreatitis in comparison to other centers, especially large referring centers that they do large volumes of ERCP. And ideally, that's a very good point, Vic. We would like to have consecutive patients, but I think realistically, we were not able to achieve that for many reasons. Some patients were out of the therapeutic window, or if you wish, the window of enrollment of 7 days. Some patients might have not been identified through the different mechanisms that each institution was identifying patients. Some patients might have declined participating, or there might have been periods within an institution enrollment due to limited manpower. This can be weekends, holidays, summertime. The enrollment went down. That's why I think the completion of the surveys that we succeeded is extremely important to provide us with an idea of what percentage of patients that were admitted in its institution were actually enrolled. I think we should not present this study as a study of consecutive patients. This is an alpha study, and there was a lot of work done per institution. Even the principal the site investigators many times did all the work. But it's important to have the backbone information to let reviewers and maybe other researchers that might criticize our study on what percentage of patients admitted were actually enrolled. But clearly, this is not consecutive patients. That's a very well taken point, and thank you for your question.
There is another question by Dr. Capurso from Italy. He mentioned that do we need like any extra IRB addendum or approval for like sample collection? I would answer that it depends on your center. Each ethical committee in the university has their own regulation. For example, in University of Pittsburgh, we submitted an IRB which includes sample collection. But if your IRB just covered the clinical data, you have to add an addendum and just have a IRB approval for like collecting samples. Uh, so it just depends on the like a regularity in your institution, but I would say yes. At least among US centers that I'm familiar with the rules, you will definitely need to have a like just state clearly in the IRB that we want to collect samples.
And once you submit that to the IRB and you get a new IRB letter, please provide a copy to us as well, because we need that for our IRB umbrella, where all centers are included, the apprentice IRB that we have at the University of Pittsburgh. But that's a very, very important question. Exactly. And within the next couple of months, we'll be working on finalizing a sample collection protocol that we'll be sharing with you. So the goal is the collection and processing of samples to be universal throughout the centers if possible. Amir, any more questions?
Not at this time. Everyone is like welcome to if they want to talk or give any inputs. I would just keep everyone unmuted. Those like who have audio access and
I have one more question.
Please.
Do you plan to have another webinar specifically for discussing the protocol for the sampling?
Yes, when the time comes for phase 2, definitely going to have a webinar to discuss in details the protocol.
Okay, thank you.
And of course, you are all invited. I know for some of you that come from international centers might be hard, but you are all invited.
Sorry.
We are all invited at Pancreas Fest, which is in late July here in Pittsburgh, where there's going to be a round table discussing apprentice and other potential acute pancreatitis studies. You are all invited to join us. The last thing that I meant to mention, and I did not, is that all these 29 proposals with their should be sent out via email to all investigators. So all investigators will avoid to have the grade or the site of the proposal, because we don't want to point fingers by no means. The opposite. Our goal is to work as a group and enhance as much as we can the proposals. But I think it's a good idea. Mario Pelaez from Mexico has asked about that, to send out all 29 proposals to all our investigators, so all investigators know what has already been proposed, and even from other proposals, they might even get ideas of a new proposal. So we're going to send that the proposals out via email within the next couple of days. So all of you you'll have all 29 proposals. And I also once again would like to thank this group of young investigators, Doctors Lee, Nawaz, Aksintala, and Gougol, that actually devoted significant amount of time and effort to go through the proposals and provide grades and recommendations. And of course, the committee members, Doctors Gutierrez, Singh, and Di Mararia, that also review them as well and provide their input.
it seems there is no more question. The time is 9:50. I would appreciate everyone for joining and for all your efforts. If there is, I would just give 1 more minutes if anyone wants to write any question, and everyone is unmuted, so they can just talk if they want to share any idea or any comments. We will be more than happy to have them.
Again, the month of June is very important for all of us to optimize the data so we can lock apprentice phase one with the best, more optimal data that we can. Other than that, I want to wish you, if we don't have the chance to talk, to enjoy the summer, recharge your batteries, because we're going to have a lot of work starting early autumn with apprentice phase two, as well as with all the papers that we'll start preparing once we start doing the statistical analysis. And I would like to remind you that even if you're not the person in charge for the paper, we'll have a very straightforward and open mechanism of including multiple sites in each paper that we're going to be submitting. So there will be opportunities for all of you to be highlighted for your hard work as main authors of papers that have done proposals and they have ranked with high priority, or even as co-authors in papers that you actually have been involved peripherally. So at this time, we'll conclude from Pedram, Stephen, Phil, Amir, and myself. Thank you for joining, and enjoy the summer.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye.
Okay.